Hello everyone, my name is Fatima and welcome back to The Race Edit, and if you're new here, welcome to The Race Edit and welcome to a new video. And if you're listening on audio, welcome to another episode. Now, I wasn't going to speak on this. I actually was not. I had no intention of doing so, but you know, I have a camera and a YouTube channel, so I might as well, right? The two things I wasn't going to speak on are GPDA statement that was sent out by the Drivers Association. I guess that's the Grand Prix drivers, same thing, right? And then Lewis Hamilton. But first and foremost, I started this channel a year and a bit ago because I was literally so sick of seeing all the negativity around Lewis Hamilton's name. So it would be remiss of me to not speak on it again when it's happening again. But before I get into that, I really want to talk about the GPDA statement that they sent out to the FIA and really to Mohammed bin Sulayem, the FIA president. Now, what I found really interesting about this statement that they sent out is that they quite literally created an Instagram page for this statement about driver misconduct, and they put out a public statement for everyone to see because it's something that I guess it's something that a lot of people were talking about and that a lot of people weren't understanding what the actual issue was. Now, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are just casual fans of Formula One's, it's a mess. First and foremost, Formula One, aside of the racing, even in the racing, it's a mess. But long story short, there was a driver, Max Verstappen, who got community service fined for swearing at a press conference. Now, he wasn't swearing at anyone, he was just swearing to let out the frustration, and in that, he got in trouble because there's kids that watch the broadcast, they need to be responsible, etc. And where my brain kind of goes with this is I do understand the notion that, yeah, there are kids that do watch, there's a lot of kids that watch Formula One, but for as long as Formula One has been Formula One, there has been swearing in Formula One. There has been fist fights in Formula One. Formula One, honestly, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, it's not a kid-friendly broadcast. And I said this the last time I spoke about it. The reason it's not a kid-friendly broadcast is because you have these cars that are going around on track at goodness knows how fast. They crash into barriers, they crash into each other, they flip over. There's high emotions and high tensions. I mean, if we go back to Romain Grosjean's fiery crash, that was a very jarring and scary thing to watch. So if you're going to police the drivers swearing because there's kids watching, I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna have to police the entire sport because the sport is not a kid-friendly sport. I'm sorry, it's actually not. Formula One's in a weird place right now with the current president of the FIA because there's been this is not the first time he's been called out. This is the first time that all 20 drivers were like put a firm stand on it, if I remember correctly, put out a firm public statement like this. And the reason why I think they put out a public statement is because everything that MBS does when it comes to speaking about the drivers, about Formula One in general, is quite public. Now, as a fan of the sport, I love transparency. I love to know what's going on behind the scenes. But as the president of the regulatory board of F1, I do think that there is a way that you should be speaking on your sport and on the drivers of the sport that he doesn't do right. It's not in the best interest of the greater picture. And the drivers putting out a statement like this really shows that as well, in my opinion. When they said, "We urge the FIA president to also consider his own tone and language when talking to our member drivers or indeed about them, whether in a public forum or otherwise," they're right in that, because we saw how he reacted with the whole swearing thing, saying that they're not rappers, this is not what they do. There was a lot of controversy in that because he was stereotyping, like, what do you mean they're not rappers? I know what you mean by saying that they're not rappers. You know what you mean by saying they're not rappers. Everyone else knows what you mean by saying they're not rappers. So why are you using that language, Mohammed? Why? Secondly, there's policing of the jewelry drivers wear, underpants drivers wear. I know, we're not a serious sport. And it all comes down to the fact that, and they said it in their statement too, that they are adults. They are. But the policing that's going on and how the drivers should be acting and the role model status that they have that has automatically been put on all of these drivers, it's quite interesting to me, because when I was watching Craig Slater's breakdown of this statement on Sky News, he was talking about how, and I'm not saying this verbatim, but he was talking about how MBS is trying to essentially manage Formula One like how it used to be back with Bernie. And as we know right now, Formula One is a hot commodity. It's not as exclusive as it used to be. With Liberty Media, Drive to Survive, just the whole shebang of the sport, it's not exclusive. There's a lot more access to Formula One. May it be through just watching it through the actual broadcast, may it be through social media like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, even Tumblr. There's a lot of access to Formula One. And with that access, you actually can't rein your drivers in like how you used to. With Bernie, there was a lot of control over the drivers, a lot less freedom that the drivers have than they do now. And I think that puts him in a precarious position. My issue with MBS is, as the president of the FIA, I do think that there is a way you should be speaking to the public about your sport and about your drivers. And I think the way he speaks about them is not in the way that a president should be speaking about the body that he governs. What really confused me about MBS is that, yes, we know he was a former driver before he became president, but when he was talking about the British media, because we know Max Verstappen, let's talk about the British media and their biases, but MBS also spoke on how the British media has convicted him. What did he say? He said, "I respect Max because I'm a driver, I was a champion, I respect winners and champions. I see he has had his share of mistreatment, but let's talk about me. If you look at the British media and what they did to me, for God's sake, they convicted me. They didn't accuse me of anything, but they keep going on. And do I care? No. Because no. Why? Because what are they after? They are after selling and getting more coverage for themselves. But they have no power over me and over the FIA. With due respect to the British media or any other media, they don't have a vote. We are an independent democratic federation. It's the world of membership that elected me. The power is with the General Assembly, not with them." And see, again, my issue with MBS is it's actually not about you. Like, as the president of the FIA, I think he has a mentality of, how do I word this? Because I wanted to come in this very nice. My issue with him is, sorry about my birds if you can hear them, by the way. My issue with him though is it's very woe is me. And where I stand on that is, you're the president of the FIA. Like, yeah, the buck stops at you. So if you're feeling convicted, I'm sorry, that's your job. That is your job. If you go to any world, any job in any world where something has happened in the company and it's a big scandal, the CEO, you represent the company as a whole. So you can't feel that like you're getting, I'm sorry that you feel that the British media has convicted you, but at the end of the day, that's part of your role. You are the one who is the representative of the entire FIA, and that's not just do with Formula One. You govern a many series, and it sucks, but you're gonna have to deal with it. And so where I'm going with that is, I feel that ever since he's been president, he's been in this space of like, what about me? What about what I'm going through? And that's kind of where the power trip happens as well, because he feels that he has no control. He's being attacked. But I'm just like, that's the role of the president. I'm happy that the drivers are saying something, and I'm really happy that they're talking about the transparency of the fines, because these drivers are getting fined left, right, and center. And they're right. Where is the money going, actually? Where is the money going? It does put a weird light on the sport. And on top of that, if you're fining one driver $1 million, there's another driver who can't afford that. Simple as that. And it's just kind of ridiculous that you are even implementing $1 million fines, because where is that $1 million going? So yeah, I wasn't going to speak on this until perhaps MBS or the FIA said anything. I don't know if they will. They probably are speaking to the drivers behind the scenes, but I am happy that the drivers put this publicly, because MBS likes to speak about the drivers publicly and not in a good way. And I'm not saying you have to praise your drivers. Nothing's wrong with my drivers. They're all perfect. I mean, in the sense that you come out and you put scathing remarks about the people that you govern. How does that make any sense? Okay, I guess Formula One is a different world. Formula One is a different world. It's media, it's a sport compared to other regulatory bodies. And I know a lot about regulatory bodies. Trust me, I do. So it just blows my mind that the president can speak on his people in such a manner and everything's cool. It really does blow my mind. Now I want to talk about Lewis Hamilton for a hot moment, because there's been a lot of chatter about if Lewis Hamilton has peaked. Is Lewis Hamilton past his prime? And I'm here to tell you, no. let's just end it there, guys. I don't understand why we have to have this conversation over and over again. We get it. He's old. He's not winning championships like he was. Like, we get it. We get it. But where do I want to start with this one? I think the reason why it's just so frustrating is because, and this is no shade to these drivers as well, but we always have the conversation about, is he past his prime? But yet when you look at Fernando Alonso, oh my gosh, he's 40 years old. He's 40 something years old and he is still kicking it. Fernando Alonso, he's never going to retire. He's so good. And I understand that there's a difference in Hamilton and Alonso in the sense that Alonso has 2 World Drivers' Championships, while Lewis Hamilton has 7. So of course the one with the 7 titles is going to get a lot of chatter, is going to make a lot of noise. But what I don't understand is, why do we keep having this conversation? And what I don't understand is, why is it always just spewed with so much vitriol? And it's always spewed with, there's a lot of vitriol and there's a lot of discrediting his talent. It's always, has Lewis Hamilton peaked? Did Ferrari make a mistake in signing him? But it's never, what about Fernando Alonso? And no shade to Nico Hülkenberg, but what about Nico Hülkenberg? Why do we never have that conversation about him? He's great. Good job. It's really great to have Nico because he has a lot of experience and he'll be great for the team, when he's never been on a podium in Formula One. And again, that is no shade to you. It's just the truth. It's the truth. So I don't want to say what it is, but you know what it is. And the reason I'm bringing this up today is because a certain Mr. Jeremy Clarkson, who's just a hater, Jeremy Clarkson decided that he was going to speak and say that Lewis Hamilton is peaked. He's not in his prime anymore. The car will be bad and he'll just say yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, the reason why I get so confused about this conversation this year especially, now if you guys said it last year, I'd be like, you know what? But even last year, it still wouldn't have counted because he still finished 3rd in the standings. But Lewis Hamilton quite literally has 2 wins under his belt this year of this 2024, the same as Carlos Sainz, who he's replacing, but yet Lewis Hamilton has peaked. When there's other drivers on the grid, so one who's never won a race or been on a podium and one who has not won anything in like 11 years. It's a frustrating conversation to be had, and I don't even like bringing fuel to the fire because it's just like, it's the same conversation point over and over again. And in my humble opinion, and I keep saying this, if you want to have this conversation, let's have it next year when he's at a new team and see how it plays out. I don't know why we're enforcing this conversation so much right now. Like, whatever it's being said, it's not going to change. It's not going to change. I'm not even going to speak on Toto Wolff and the shelf life comment in his high performance interview because I don't think it needs to be spoken on. Honestly, Toto is hurt that Lewis Hamilton got the better of him and pulled a reverse Uno on him. So I'm not even going to speak on that. I just think my issue with Formula One media and fans is just, there's so much double standards more than anything. Double standards in the sense that, 1, because he's a champion, a 7-time world champion, and 2, because, let's be frank, because of his race, 100%. And people don't like hearing that. People do not like hearing the race card. They don't like it when people bring it up, but it's the cold hard truth, because you cannot sit there with a straight face and tell me that Lewis Hamilton is past his prime, but Fernando Alonso, it's so great that he's staying at Aston Martin. That Nico Hülkenberg, it's so great that he's still racing, even though they also arguably are past their prime. If you're going to say one of them, you have to say all of them, and that's not how the conversation works in Formula One, because someone will always have something to say, but yeah, but Alonso this, yeah, but Nico Hülkenberg this, and I'm just like, no. If you're going to use that argument, you got to use it on all the old dogs, not just one. And you know why you're using it on one. You know why you're using it on one. And you can't even say, yeah, but Lewis Hamilton was winning races, winning championships for like X amount of years straight. He's not in like 3 years. All I'm going to say is, if you're going to have the conversation about whether he's past his prime, I don't think you should be having that conversation this year when he's won 2 races, especially after watching Silverstone, especially after watching him in Silverstone. There's no way you can't tell me he doesn't have it still. And that's just that. And it's just, sometimes I just want to tell people to be nice. Why can't we just be nice? Why is it always like the most, that's for another video. All right, that's all I have for you all today. Let's see if this video even goes up. But if you guys like this video, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe. I am working my way towards 500 subscribers. So if you did like it, please feel free to like and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one. Thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful day.